I chose not to believe in anything. And I said if I want to believe in God, I'd have to believe in aliens and Sasquatches and the Loch Ness Monster and stuff like that.
I think if Jesus were here right now, I wouldn't be ready to meet him. I feel guilty for so many things, and I just don't feel like I'm at a place where I'd be okay facing him.
I like to assume the best in people, and so when I'm in church, every time I see people, I always assume that they have their lives together, and I'm just like, here.
Religion quite often is something that we've been a little disenchanted by.
I'm not deeply into the faith like I used to be.
I don't want to serve a God that condemns good people to hell.
What if I just die and burn it for eternity, because maybe they were right.
I was saying to God, am I an awful person? And I just couldn't hear God's voice about it.
I have so much doubt. What is the point of life? Why am I here? Do I even want to still be here?
It was so intense to be dropped into a group where everyone had such a complex relationship with God and with Christianity.
The experience was unlike anything I've really experienced before.
Not knowing what religious TV show we're about to sit on a couch and binge watch with random strangers.
We don't care if you love it, hate it. We hope you can at least relate to it. Help us understand what's happening here.
Stopping it there, and welcome to Mika Reacts Reviews, reacting to things on the internet. And today we are reacting to the Gen Z reacting to the TV series The Chosen, which I believe is a Christian-based TV series that follows the biblical life of Jesus Christ, and it's on their own app. There's an app called The Chosen, I think TV streaming app or something like that. You can download it and watch it. So I don't think it's not on Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Plus or Apple or anything like that. Maybe you can find it on Watch Series, but I believe it's just on their specific app, right? And so they are basically having a group of Gen Zers screen the show The Chosen and kind of have a discussion around it and around the show, around how it makes them feel, what it makes them think. It's also discussing their own relationship with God, the church, or the religion, or the lack thereof. And so I'm going to watch it as an ex-Christian, as an ex-youth leader in church, who's someone who is very heavily involved in evangelism and the Christian church and religions and all that stuff. And I'm going to give you my commentary about it, alright? So we're going to get back into the video, but before you do, if you like this type of videos, please like, comment, subscribe. Hit that button to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can donate. My PayPal and Cash App link is in the description box below and sometimes in the comment section. Of course it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop. Links down below and links to all of the Eternal platforms, my socials, including my Twitter, all the ways to support me and all the ways to contact me for business is always in the links down below. Other than that, guys, sit back, relax, and continue to enjoy the video. All right, here we go.
I'm in.
Yeah. I did not expect that.
This is not what I thought it was gonna be, but it brings you in.
It reminded me a lot of Thanksgiving time with my friends.
I mean, it seems cool, but I feel very wary about entering into that domain again. I'm kind of terrified for going back to church because I feel like no one protected me.
When I was little, I would pray and I felt like I wasn't heard.
I really have struggled in loving myself.
I had to leave, and I was in an awful life situation.
The fact that Jesus is in here and he's saying, well, I came here for you. It was big. I really liked that.
If Jesus can love me, then I should be able to love me. God is calling you.
There are people I've had in my life for years that don't know me like this.
Yeah.
Well, they're about to.
Alright guys, that was it. Quite frankly, it's a good the trailer. It pulls at the emotional heartstrings. It pulls you in. It's very intriguing. You kind of want to follow these kids' stories and see how it ends up in the end. You want to know their life stories. The sound bites that they put in the trailer definitely made you curious about that. Had a good soundtrack to it. It's a really well done trailer. So I made no secrets on this channel that I'm no longer religious. I am very spiritual. I have a relationship with God. I believe in God, but I'm just no longer religious, or I don't go to church anymore. I used to be very, very heavily involved in a church. I was a youth leader, gave courses, classes, workshops, hosted some of the biggest rock stars in evangelism. Clint Clement, Lou Engle, if you are evangelist, Christian. And so I used to do the whole street praying, Bible thumping, praying for people, laying hands, all that stuff. I was very, very heavily involved in church. And I didn't leave for any negative reasons. The church didn't do anything to me, especially my last church. I didn't leave because I hated the church or they abused me or anything like that. It was no negative reasons. I didn't leave church because I got on drugs and I just fell off the wagon. Like, it was nothing like that. It didn't fit with me anymore. My temperament, my character, who I am. And I'll go a little bit to more than that after I say what I'm going to say, the positives about church and why I think kids should be a part of communities like this. Because if I was a parent and I had children, especially Gen Z children, I would much rather them be a part of a church community like this than TikTok or video games all day. And nothing wrong with video games, but all day, every day. Or porn, being addicted to porn. I would much rather them find more of a wholesome community than not. Because even if they grow up and they decide like me that, okay, that was cool, glad that was part of my life, I'm going to move on and explore other aspects of life. And no, that doesn't mean sex. Like, every time I say explore, that's this thing that guys and men always go to for some reason. Like, travel, find different career choices, be an artist, whatever, right? And so, but if they do choose to move on, those lessons and that foundation is never going to really leave them. Not really. It's always going to kind of be there. That relationship with God would always be there. That pull to God or spirituality or higher power is always going to be there. And so for me, I think the biggest thing that church gives, and this to me is the biggest thing, beyond the church, beyond the teaching, beyond the preaching, beyond the Bible, beyond any of that, is the community. Because granted, not all churches are created equal. There are some bad churches, and there are churches that hurt people, like the one black girl seemed like maybe she's experiences. There's churches that do not cultivate a good community, and there's churches that have a weird hierarchy and clickiness and all this stuff, and that needs to be addressed. But there are really good churches that build really good community, especially my last one. And if you are in California and you're looking for a good church, I would recommend Harvest Rock, which is located in Pasadena. And they very much focus on the youth, and they focus on the industry because they want to get godly stuff into the industry, into Hollywood, so it's not so degenerate. And they focus on the youth because they feel like the youth is the future. Blah, 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 right? One of the biggest reasons why I continued to go into church was the community that the church built. It was such a good community. Like, I spent so much time at my pastor's house and had so many good friends, and we would go on big trips together and go to dinner together. Like, my entire young adult life was sort of involved around that, revolved around my community and my friends in church, and I would never regret that. Even though I'm not involved in church anymore, even though I'm not religious, but I will never regret my time in church, and I love the fact that that was a part of my journey. Even when it comes to households, I don't think households would be super strict, because you're in some ways that is going to run the kid away. But I think households need to have structure and rules and a good foundation and values that need to be met. And even if your kid goes kicking and screaming and I hate you and you're a boomer and you don't understand all these things, as they grow up, those values aren't really ever going to leave them. My adopted mom was really strict, and according to some of my siblings, they have issues with that. Now, I wouldn't even say she was really strict. She wasn't really strict, but she was stricter than most parents, right? Because we had a religious household. But for me, I think that her rules saved a lot of us from falling into really bad like groups and falling into the streets and all that stuff. And it's kind of evident in a way because like half of my siblings were adopted like me and the other half wasn't. And some of my adopted siblings did choose to leave early on, and their life went a completely different way than a lot of the siblings who stayed until they were adults. So even those life lessons never leave. So I think church communities are really good for young people. Again, not all churches are equal, and they can do more harm than good. They can damage young kids and stuff like that. But if it's a good church, I think the community, honestly, is the best part of church. And you might disagree with me. You might say, no, it's the word, it's the Bible, it's tithing, or whatever, right? And so, because one of the things that society in the West is heavily lacking right now is community. And that's why people are constantly looking for it, because people are starved for it. And so they find their communities in feminism, or Black Lives Matter, or the rainbow community, because they're starving for community. But a lot of those communities lack the values and the foundations and the structures and the consistency that a young person needs. And so I think the church community is the biggest thing that can help not just young people, but anybody, especially like men. Like loneliness epidemic heavily affects men. And so, you know, they give you community, they give you structure, they give you guidelines, they give you a good rule book to life, and they give you a place in the community. A lot of times you can, you know, become a youth leader or usher or choir member or a Bible study leader. It gives you a place, it gives you purpose, and it gives you meaning. A lot of that stuff right now, a lot of that I just mentioned is heavily lacking in the West. And so I think that even though I'm no longer in church and I'm no longer religious, I still see the great qualities of that. And again, the biggest thing for me is community. Just seeing those young kids, the Gen Zers, sitting together, communing with one another, and just celebrating their spirituality and their walk in life and walk in faith and walk in God, instead of focusing on each other's skin color, instead of focusing on each other's sexuality or gender or all those things. I think that's good. I think that's good for young kids. Now, when it comes to a documentary again, I would love to see this breaking down to a series, almost like a reality show, but not really. Like, not like the reality shows we're used to, but like, I would like this to be a series to follow these kids along, because it seems like a lot of them had really good stories, and I don't think that can be just polished off in an hour or so. So I would love to see a series of this and see how this works out for kids, because I'm not stupid, because my suspicions tell me, because I used to be an evangelist, I used to be in those churches, in those communities, and I know the number one goal for evangelist Christians is to get people to give their life to Jesus Christ. That is the number one goal. Everything is directed and focused on getting people to become born again Christians, to save your brothers and sisters, right? That's the loving thing you can do for your brothers and sisters. And so I would doubt if they would have something like this, and at the end half of the kids go, yeah, that didn't really change my mind, I don't want to be a Christian, I'm still leaving church. I'm assuming at the end of this documentary they all give themselves to Jesus Christ to become born again. I'm assuming that. I could be wrong, and if they prove me wrong, I would give them the props for that. But I'm pretty sure this is going to be very like tilted and biased. But that's why I feel like it would be better as a series, to really see them in that journey of either returning to faith, returning to church, or just taking some of it and still leaving it or not. The Asian girl who said that she felt like everybody was perfect and she wasn't, and that's why she felt so bad about herself. I think that is an issue too in church, because I always felt like that. Like, I felt like a phony. That's not why I left church, but I did feel like that, because they give you this idea, if you give yourself to Jesus Christ, your life will be perfect in a blink of an eye, like a miracle. And everyone sort of behaves like that. And so if it doesn't happen for you personally, then you think there's something wrong with you, and then you think, I must be the worst Christian, God hates me, I should just die. Something like that, right? And so I think that facade needs to also be dealt with in church. Like, no, a lot of these people are still having issues. They just deal with their issues a lot better because they have faith and because they have God. But your life doesn't become instantly utopic just because you gave yourself to Jesus Christ. The girl who said that she doesn't want to see good people go to hell, maybe she can be talking about the LGBTQ plus community, because I remember going through that when I was a Christian. My brother is gay, and I remember questioning Christianity because of that. Like, my brother's an amazing person, but he's gonna go to hell because of his sexuality. That's not why I left the church, but I remember going through that. And also, there are some feminine men in that group, and I will be curious, not that it matters personally, but I'd be curious about their sexuality, and if there was a series, how they would deal with that person if they became a Christian, right? Would it be, well, we have to convert you now, you can't be gay anymore? You know what I mean? I would be curious about those things. But I think the trailer itself is good. The reason why I personally left the church is because I think the church is restricting. And maybe it's restricting for a purpose. I don't think God is restricting. I think the church and religion is restricting. And for someone like me who is a creative, very curious, and I see myself as an intellectual, it just was too restricting for me. And I personally think, even though the church says we are created in the image of God, I believe the church and religion creates God in their image, because I don't think as a human beings we can even understand or fathom the idea of God. And so I think just like aliens, if you think aliens exist, we always see aliens as our human idea of a species. They always have heads, they always have eyes, they always have legs and arms. We don't think aliens as just a blob. Like, why not? Because we always project our own ideas into something. So I personally think church and religion project their idea of God. But anyway, that is all I have to say. I can't believe I made a long ass video for a 3-minute trailer. So I'm gonna end it there. I downloaded the Chosen app. Maybe I'll watch it. They don't have picture-in-picture, and I very rarely just sit and watch anything. I am always working or doing something, so if I can't get picture-in-picture, it's hard for me to want to watch something. I'll try. It says that this was going to be released on July 17th. I looked for it. I couldn't find it, so I don't know where it is, the whole actual documentary. If you guys know, let me know in the comment section below. But I'm going to end it here. It's getting way ridiculously too long. You guys have an amazing day. Please like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell to get the notifications when I do upload. And you guys have an amazing day. Bye.